get carried away by this.
Would you rather a Daniel who is excited and doing it for maybe clout than somebody who would maybe say, I don't feel Ghanaian and still be part of it?
I prefer the one who is
honest.
Yeah.
Yes.
Honest. Yeah. I don't think Ghanaian.
I love Chire's personality. I think, but what goes for Chire the most is none of the.
It's his performance.
It's ability in the game.
It's that when he takes the ball, every pass is a good pass.
He's decisive. Yeah.
That everything he does, where it matters most. So you remember the famous story of Tony Bafo when he made the debut here and then went around. Okay, so that flag was good, but we remembered him because he was a decent defender. He was a good defender, and he stuck with us for a very long time. That's what Chire has done. As for the social media, he's done.
And he came from a very high esteemed family, and came down and still played for Ghana, still played for Germany.
Yeah, Tony.
But then we got rid of some. Yeah, but then we got rid of some in our process, and they ended up playing for Germany anyway, and they played in the World Cup final, whereas no Ghanaian quotation marks.
Yeah,
that was in the World Cup final.
That was Gerard Asamoah's
absolutely.
Blessing. He should enjoy it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
With him, we rejected him, and the stone that the builders refused shall be the head corner.
That was the cornerstone of Germany.
Absolutely.
That's why Ghana has still remained Gerard Asamoah's cornerstone. That's why every holiday he's here.
Oh, yes.
That's why his biggest investments are here.
No, but he's a Ghanaian.
That's also why
let's call it spade a spade.
For all that's happened, spends all his time here.
Let's call it spade a spade. He is a Ghanaian.
Yes.
He was born here, he was bred here, he grew up here. He went there.
It would have been nice for Gerard to play for us, but
Barreto. Is it Barreto?
No.
Bukaziz
called him, and I said, not good enough. 6-7 years later,
it was 98. It was this guy's time.
Israel?
He mentioned his name. No.
Venus Israel?
No, Barreto? It was this gentleman. Dosena
was 2004.
Dosena was 2000.
2000, yeah. It was
2000.
That was when Otto and all those people came into the team.
Yeah, but Dosena was 2000.
Yes, around that period. That's when Gerard Asamoah came. Gerard didn't come in during.
Was it on 98, 96?
Silas last calling here was in 2004, 2003 when he went to do that Asabasa football in
you remember it too. That's what I love about having chats with them, because we remember some of those.
Yeah, lots of things.
But anyway, you haven't had your view. They've raised up interesting issues and there's a move to the main team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important that when you are going to a tournament, you call the best pool of players to form a squad or a team to the tournament. And all the players who played in the qualifiers, they don't have any automatic ticket to the World Cup. And now let's face it, that's what he said. After all the jubilation, we need to analyze our team. We picked a team that could qualify past Nigeria. It doesn't mean we've got a proper team to go on and do wonders at the World Cup. So we need to look at calling our best players to build a team that could go on into the World Cup and compete against Portugal, Uruguay, and Korea. And the point, and Akosia made a brilliant point when she said that there's no guarantee that a lot of the players who played in the playoff are going to be in the best of shape going to the World Cup. Let's not forget that there's going to be the summer where some of these players will change clubs, some will be out of favor with their coaches, some are going to be terrible at their clubs, some are going to be superb, and so some might not make the squad. And let's be honest, Emmanuel Lomete played a lot of the qualifying games, where you see he didn't play the playoffs. Abelora, Atta, Abelora, Atta, no, making it Abelora, Atta.
Even Schlopp took part.
All of these players played a part.
That's because every coach has his different type of philosophy and they'll play.
And there's a point where a player loses form. Abelora lost form and made a couple of mistakes with Kotoko with the Black Stars before he had his own injury worries and what have you. Now Wolcott is the man.
Well, he's in the squad.
Although he didn't play any parts in the group stages, but he came into the playoffs.
Absolutely.
So we are looking at any point in time as a national team, you've got no time to groom quality. All you need to do is to pick the best players available.
It's a babysitting platform.
Yeah, it's not a babysitting platform. You need to pick the best quality available. And I understand what Mike said, that when you've got players like Salisu, who's not too sure what to do, then you want to lay down the marker that for our national team, we don't condone this, we condone that. But off air, we're making a very good point that, listen, Odoi, Lamte, Nico Williams, these are players who we think are Ghanaians, but also very much British.
Nico is Spanish.
I mean, although of course, thank you. Nico is Spanish. Oh, very much Ghanaian, very much from another part of the world. It's not that simple for them to sit back and say, well, I've just decided to go and play for Ghana. When you look at Tariq Lamptey, he's looking at the team that he's playing Brighton and be thinking that in June, July, I could be making a step up. Do you honestly think with Trippier and Kyle Walker steadily being phased out of the English national team, maybe after the World Cup they're no more playing, do you honestly think that Tariq Lamptey have got absolutely no chance to play with the Three Lions?
But there's a problem. You spoke about the time frame.
Too. Why didn't you mention Reece James and
there's Reece James and
Trent?
And I'm saying,
if you don't mention Reece James,
that's why I said that he could make. That's why I said he could make a step up. Now the step up here means that what if Tariq Lamptey is all of a sudden playing for?
In the case of Tariq Lamptey, there's a major problem there. He doesn't have just one or two or three. He has 4 people contending with him for that position in England.
So I'm saying
there is Reece James.
Yes.
There is Trent Alexander-Arnold. There's Kyle Walker, and there's Kieran Trippier.
And I'm saying that after the World Cup, I mean, we're looking at.
There's one beside. Why you don't respect one?
And then no. And then hold on.
Yeah.
And then he has a slight disadvantage because since he's played for the England under-21 qualified for the World Championship, which will be taking place when?
And the 21 World Championship is going to be taking.
If you listen to his question.
That's the point.
No, but
under-21.
Yes.
He will go and play there. That prevents him from getting the required thing because he's still playing for England after July.
No, but
that's
and the 21 doesn't stop him. And the 21 doesn't stop him. But what I'm saying is,
can you imagine the fury?
All right, so all of you missed this point. I'm saying Tariq Lamptey could make a step up. It could be to Spurs. Nobody knows what's going to happen in the summer. It could be to a good team where he's going to command the place and compete proper. I'm saying that very recently Walker wasn't called to the team. Quite obviously, Southgate doesn't fancy Alexander-Arnold so much.
No.
But there's
Walker
James.
wasn't called. He was dropped for a reason.
Who?
Walker.
No, yes, he was dropped. I agree. I'm saying that Trippier has been injured and all of that. And then these are not young. They are not getting.
Suddenly, it could become an opportunity.
It could become an opportunity for him because he's very much British as well. When you look at Sancho and Rashford and the quality of football they are playing, they were not called for the Three Lions. If Osnodor explained a lot better between now
lately.
and I'm saying that there's June and there's July, there's the summer before the World Cup, and that's what everybody forgets.
And the start of a new season.
There's a start of a new season before the World Cup, and that matters. So it's not that simple for any one of those players to suddenly say that I was born in England, I'm going to switch to Ghana because I think I can play for the Three Lions, when they're actually weighing up the options and thinking that the start of the next season could be crucial. And there's that opportunity also to play for the Black Stars. But the key question here is, what has been the culture in the national team for a lot of these players who were not born here and have come to play for the Stars? They ask questions, they speak to people, they ask their friends, they speak to these professionals. KP Boateng will be available to them, Kwarase will be available to them, Kwesi Appiah, a lot of some of these players will be available. What has been the culture around the Black Stars when some of these players who are not 100% Ghanaians have come into the team? Why have they not tried?
I interviewed Kwarase somewhere last year, and he spoke very passionately about into the Black Stars team. After every training session, there's a Jama session. They know nothing about the songs. They're always isolated. Even the food isn't very familiar. And we don't have a very conscious effort, a very conscious attempt, a very conscious policy of trying to get these players integrated to the Black Stars team. So in the end, they become very isolated. And I kid you not, a lot of the Black Stars players, when they play, they level the pitch when they play. A lot of them actually communicate in Chi or in Ga.
Yeah.
These players speak none of that.
None of that. Yeah, isolated. There's no culture for them.
There is no proper so there's a communication barrier. And we have a famous example from the 2014 World Cup, where Kwarase started against the USA, and in the next game he was dropped.
Thanks. Let me look at you there.
You know,
I mean, Mike, you've been with the Stars. I mean, several. Of course, all of us have. We've seen a player like Kwarase around the team when they are training or preparing for matches, and when he was around the Stars, he was very isolated. Is that the kind of environment you want to play? It's not that simple.
So you know, I've got to be honest. I feel like the Kwarase case is curious because he's somebody I'm very close to. I was very close to when he started coming in. We had some really good nights out and all that. And
I can imagine.
You know me, I know the right place.
It had nothing to do with doing the right place. I know you. And I suppose you went with FIFA will not take and actually Jakwasu and whatnot.
Yeah, we have to check down. You understand? He wanted to see.
Tell after hearing for check down.
So we used to check down. Look, that way was so passionate about the Black Stars. I think, in fairness, though, Kwarase maybe was more hurt by the things that happened at the World Cup.
Yeah.
I'm really not sure this was an assimilation problem because he seemed to get on fine. He loved the city. He would go swimming at the beach. He knew everywhere in town. His brother Rashid was with him a lot of the time when he came around. I think he was really hurt by the events that happened and all the things about he didn't speak Ghana and couldn't understand, and those were the things that he was complaining about. Because let's face it, Kwarase's disaffection seemed to kick off heavily after Brazil 2014.
Of course.
Yep.
Because he was no more first choice goalkeeper.
Not necessarily.
Because of the way he was treated.
He played against US.
He played against the US in the opening match.
And then there was a lot of talk about
miscommunication, lack of understanding of.
There was just too much. It was.
Somebody said Nisusu Frebo.
Yeah,
What has that?
I watched his body language and all that, but he seemed to just. And you are right. When they were doing the Jama, he would stand there.
He's isolated.
And even then in Brazil, I would watch KP Boati and the rest because I went along to the training camp in England, and I watched KP Boati's first game against Latvia at the Milton Keynes Stadium, and I think it's right. In a regular company, when you are SNET, you have a policy for embedding new staff. If somebody came, you have a mentor who
orientation goes on and all those sort of things.
Yes, this is what we do here. We don't do this here. Somebody will make a conscious effort to carry people along. A new manager comes, one of the existing managers will walk them through the ropes, even in an informal setting. If we want to have a policy of attracting the best talent, we must have a plan. We shouldn't just carry them like fishes out of a pond
and ask them to find their way.
And then ask them that, look, this is how we do it here. And it's called, I like something Fento mentioned. How do you grow up in England, used to a certain meal all of a sudden, and you go into the Black Stars Hotel, and my sweetheart, I've forgotten her name, Auntie. Whenever I go to with the team, she will look for me and give me food. The Black Stars cook.
She always gives the journalist food.
Yes. No, mine was always a special plate.
Special man.
But this was always almost like prepared to suit your local Ghana guy.
Yeah.
So the light soup, that sort of.
Can you help me out, Mike? Help me out further. I get a bit confused now. You talk about let's say an example being the food that they take, yet you know the number of times I've been to the UK, you know the number of times I've been to the US, and when I'm interacting with people, Ghana, wow, the first day when I came, I had red. Is red still there? Now, if, with all due respect, if the Boni can be excited about it, why can't he also be excited? The fact that
the sportsmen used to a certain nutrition. No, it matters. It matters. It's different. Nutrition is everything.
Carl, I'll give you a simple answer. So, say you are a young boy who was born in Norway, or you were born in Denmark. You use your salmons, that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Yes. So you come to Ghana. You're excited first 2-3 days. You're here for the Nations Cup. It requires, like with the case of Kwarase in 2012, a 2-week camping period in Dubai. Your cook is Ghanaian. It requires a full tournament stretch in Gabon, Equatorial Guinea, a 1-month period. That Obroni who comes here and gets excited about red, ask him whether he eats red. No, it's like how if I went to say Johannesburg, I have this bad craving to have a steak. But there is a 9 out of 10 chance that I will drive to Pretoria and I will carry wachi, I will carry jollof, I will carry soup.
Yeah.
And why, if I'm in the Santini, I am looking for the next closest restaurant that sells jollof.
Don't let me tell people why you carry Gary soup and whatnot. We all know why Ghanaians carry those. Don't let go in that direction.
So it's very different.
Yes, these are, but it's also, look, if England goes to a tournament and sets up game rooms,
you have the chef game room.
You must assimilate people.
I understand.
It's very important.
So the
culture around the team,
if it's a case of assimilating, then you are talking about getting somebody within the team to do that. Yeah?
Yes.
Within the squad.
That could be one way.
Not necessarily the players.
Yeah, not necessarily the players.
But somebody.
There should be a setup.
So the food aspect, for me, I have a little problem, and that's why I need.
I think you see why the
one example.
You see
or
why
the diet aspect.
Yes, you see why the food aspect is very important. Diet is everything. Sportsmen take diet very seriously. Their bodies are used to a certain kind of diet. And there are players that take a certain meal before bed, a certain meal when they wake up in the morning, in the afternoon. Once your body is adjusted to a certain meal, that is what it is. So if there's going to be a change, that change has to be maybe slightly systematic, slowly. But like Michael explained, we go to tournament, you carry our own cooks, and maybe for the first 1 week, for the first 2 weeks, ever, I suddenly have to change a certain diet and switch to Banku, at 8 in the evening. I mean, it makes no sense. Yeah. And we can't blame them if they don't perform.
No, but I don't think they'll take it at 8 in the evening.
No, but
maybe not 8 in the evening.
Not with the
I've seen, I've gone to tournaments where, yes, Ghanaian players take Banku for dinner.
They hide it.
You see, that's the point. So, you see, maybe, and that's the only meal available. How are they going to? So, it's a problem. And it's a very big one.
The Ghanaian dietitians or whatnot.
Oh, the meals have.
I'm not saying there's one meal. There's Ghanaian meals.
Yeah, the meals have.
Okay, Carl. So this is where we need to find the difference and the balance. We are talking about Ghana. We are talking about getting players who are not necessarily born here, are not fully Ghanaians to represent us. It is not like the Three Lions, where 99.99 were born and bred in England and are used to the meal. It's not like Le Bleu. It's not like Brazil, where they are absolutely comfortable with what is happening in the team with food and everything, because all of them are natives of the country. We are talking about a country looking to bring in people who are not necessarily like us.
Brazil,
so we need to find...
Brazil doesn't go and take normally, but it's very rare for them to take Brazilians born in Europe or elsewhere.
That's what I'm saying.
Take Brazilians born
in...
the ones who were born there now, they are fighting for the
space. So their system... So in their team, what becomes very normal to all the players would be different from what would become very normal to all of our players, because we are looking at mixed breed, 100% Ghanaians, and what have you. So we need to deal with the issue in isolation and deal with the issue.
With a certain nuance.
Yes, with a certain nuance that we are not like Germany, who have got all of them as Germans, 100% of them perhaps as Germans or born there. Not like Spain, not like England or Portugal. This is Ghana. This is Ghana that is looking to bring in people who have grown as Spanish or English.
And so this is not us saying it. The players have said.
The players have said
players in those positions.
So we need to deal with it in context. Not everybody must eat this meal.
Right, folks. It's interesting, isn't it? We haven't even started with the main meal itself, and already we've probably gone more than half, which is exactly what.
Hey, the main food has not started.
Pardon?
The main meal has not started.
And the main meal was now having to focus on
serve it hot, okay?
The rules that the Michael J's, the Akosia J's, the
that brother and sister.
No. Which one the brother and sister?
Akosia J.
How dare?
Oh. You missed it.
How dare you?
Are you my sister?
No, Jimmy. And then Philip himself, and then you.
Well, that's Michael J, and this is Akosia J.
I find it quite irritating, to say the least. Who the heck put them bring together?
Oh.
Okay, that's right. Thanks. Folks, now let's do this, because this started from Nigeria. We'll just put up a brief of it and then move on. But the role that commentators play, and I'll start with commentators, if you know what I mean, which you have been in, and then Michael used to do it.
Yeah. The young ones don't remember, you know. They don't remember I used to do commentary. The young ones.
They don't remember.
The young ones like him.
Then if they don't remember...
Like him?
No, you.
Then if they don't remember you doing commentary, then they probably won't remember me being ever...
It's very sad, though. I'm telling you.
Michael, what are you doing?
And it's
this is so fake.
People may not know this, but Kwabena Japan was a first-class commentator.
Yeah.
Kwabena Japan, the politician.
I think we know that.
You did?
Yeah.
Yes. All of us know that.
Many people don't know that.
Okay, it's got to be those of us in sports.
Not necessarily.
Perhaps.
At the time he stopped back in 92, some were not born.
He wasn't born.
I know.
She wasn't born.
I haven't mentioned anybody's name.
You were not born.
I was born.
Whatever it was. So, the role you guys do, because to be frank with you, I sometimes listen and I say, oh my goodness, this way over the top. An open goal, they say, had been missed. And the way the commentator would speak, particularly local language, some of the words used, if I use them here, I will show you tomorrow morning, I'll get my dismissal letter amount.
No, you're too important.
Yeah, Mike, you know that. And,
you're too important here.
And I ask myself, so are we not part of the problem? And I'm saying we because I was one before. In Ghana football really sinking down there, and then eventually it seems keywords.
Is this Philip's question? I'm very passionate about this subject.
So you want to talk first?
Yes, I'm very passionate about this subject for a particular reason. I think in this country, the people we pay, the people we hand trust of public office to, always want the most convenient way out. Their convenient way out is to blame journalists for everything. You say bad things about the league. That's why people are not showing up. Without thinking that you must make the league more accessible to people first. Look, and this is not me saying sports journalists are saints, but let's get real. If there is a problem with sports journalism and what it contributes to the downfall of football, it's an insignificant proportion of what needs to be done to keep Ghana football at a certain level. When I was growing up, I saw people like you, I saw people like Kwaku Yeboah. There was Kufio Pariado. Papa Pencil. Very, very intense, passionate sports programs. Papa Pencil, for instance, and Opariado were brutal on the Joy Sports Link. You and Opari on Sports Link. Opari wrote some of the most beautiful articles. We had some of the biggest and best brains in sports journalism. It didn't stop Bill Butler and the rest from all the complications that went on. It didn't take us to the World Cup. That wasn't the fault of that generation of sports journalists. It was the fault of a generation of football administrators who didn't think it was important enough to prioritize. But I remember then, somebody like E.T. Mensah constantly blaming our problems on sports journalists. When I hear people talk about the problems with sports journalists, they say, oh, you praise the player too much. Look, if you're a coach and your means of monitoring a player is to check whether Oreku Ampofu, I always say Ampofu, I always mix up the name, or whether Fentu, or whether Michael, or whether Akosia, or whether Philip is praising a player, and you don't go the extra mile to check the player's stats, his data, when was the last time he played, how many times he played. The problem is you. The problem is your lack of professionalism, your inability to be thorough. If there is a problem with sports journalism, we can talk about the problems of exaggeration and that sort of thing, and sometimes we make things unduly difficult for the players. We've created an environment, but too many of the problems we have are problems that sit with administrators. I think if there's a problem with us, it is that we become too familiar with officials who manage our football, and then we take a step back from our public, our responsibility of holding people to account. If I had the chance to practice sports journalism all over again, there's one thing I wouldn't do. I would manage with the strictest sense of hindsight my exposure to officials, your exposure to players, your exposure to a lot of things, because at some point, and these are people you work into camps with, and there are circumstances that makes it difficult for you. You've gone to cover the Black Stars in a pre-World Cup camp. The little Pukwe Free, God bless his soul. If he didn't like you, something you said on radio, you're not going to get that interview in Dubai for your program. Would that affect the way you prepare, what you say, what you don't say? So I'm not saying there's not a problem with sports journalism. I say there's a problem with sports journalism. I'm saying that sports journalists have absolutely nothing to answer for the decisions that who are the GFA consultants when they are making decisions. who at the sports ministry consults us? Which sports journalist decided all of a sudden that when we made all that money from the World Cup that we shouldn't have put it to good use? In fact, weren't we the ones who were asking for legacy projects every day?
We are not responsible for prom. Exactly.
We talk. We ask questions. It's somebody's decision to make those calls. In this country, we try to hold footballers and journalists to act. The journalists, they are the reason why people don't go to the stadium, because they say the match is not nice. The match is not nice. What do you want me to say? Like, honestly, you are asking me to be honest. The Ghana Premier League game is boring. It's boring. What else is there to say? If the Ghana Premier League game is ongoing and the referee is bad, what do you say? The referee is bad. The referee is bad. Then they will start reminding you that you are talking about. People still come to my mentions on Twitter and say the league match is going on, and I said, please, I don't practice sports journalism again. But all I'm saying is that we keep almost sort of keep looking into the wrong places, and for me, it's a problem. If you want us to have a conversation about the quality of sports journalism, I want to have it. But I'm saying that the quality of journalism and the rest has absolutely no bearing on why Ghana has not won a trophy in 40 years. It was not why Raivat made such ridiculous decisions at the Nations Cup. So because we gave Raivat fans, the GFA went to recruit him. How can that be my problem? You understand, Carl? How can that be our problem? No, I'm just saying. Look, I remember a famous case way back when we attempted to employ a Turkish coach. I've forgotten his name. I actually, and that time I felt very smart, so I went on Google and then I checked the background of the guy. The guy said he was a member of the 2002, he was an assistant coach of Turkey at the 2002 Nations Cup. He was in a short list of coaches, and the officials had not checked at the time. But I don't take credit for that. So you have a typical case where, say, Asamoah Gyan's massive record gets taken away from him, and sports journalists say it. But the moment the sports journalists say, things are not moving right, so we need to consider the composition of the team, is the sports journalist trying to bring the people down? No. Our job is to take a bird's eye view of things and go on.
How many of us are independent?
I don't know.
How many of us are credible?
I don't know.
Because
but this
some
is
sell their soul.
Yes, I don't know, but this is what I know for a fact. I hear people say every day, and this is something that happens a lot. So then my generation of sports journalists, sometimes I don't even know the generation I belong to, because I'm caught in between the Yampo Fuankras system and people like Fentu and the rest because of my age. Look, Carl, I say sports journalism is in a healthier state at the moment than it's ever been in this country. And I'll swear my life on that.
It's in a healthier state.
And Carl, I'll tell you why. Look, and I'm not saying this because they are there, they are here. I knew Akusi a few years back when she was trying to get into sports journalism. When she started speaking, I had a smile on my face. She could walk into any space and do what she does. Philip, apart from the fact that he tries to behave nice boys and tries to take all the fun, tomorrow morning he will post on Facebook and the rest. But he's a wonderful commentator who would match up to any generation. Fentu, just take him away from sports. He went, when Fentu goes to cover the World Athletic Championship in Qatar or where, he's doing stories. Look at Gary Al Smith and the things he does.
So let me put it this way. Each one has his or her strong points. Okay? I think I've seen some of the best commentators.
Yeah.
He is getting up there. Okay?
Yeah.
I've listened to him.
He's a top shatter.
And he's the only one among the three of you, or the four of you, who thinks athletics. The rest of you are just football.
It's not true. It's not. Just not.
Michael TJ.
I've covered two World Athletics Championships. I've covered two World Athletics Championships.
Now,
look, I
went with the BBC in
2003. I covered Athletics Championships. And 2011, I covered the World Athletics Championships.
World Athletics. You were football fit then.
But you are. But because
but Mike, we are playing around. But let's get serious here. The crux of the matter is this: he may be a crack guy, crack lady, crack guy. But the crux of the matter is, how many of them? Because you have only picked 1, 2, 3.
No, I am doing a numbers game. When you go to Kumasi, the sports journalists are doing a marvelous job.
Yep.
My problem with a lot of you is that you focus on what you consider the bad ones. I say to people a simple thing. My message to people is a simple thing. You are the audience. It is your decision what you choose to listen to. What you invest your time with is an endorsement of the content you are being served. Don't come to me and say this sports journalist is screaming, always insulting people, and your dial is always on that. You like the content, swallow it up, endorse it. Don't go and listen to it and use that as a measure of the quality of sports journalism.
You don't need to say you won't listen, because for a person,
sometimes you can choose to listen.
For a person in my case, where I must give examples.
No, Ka,
I am in the lecture theatre.
Ka, you are a lecturer. Your case is different.
No, so
it's like I didn't used to listen to a lot of regular news, but tomorrow morning I will consume almost every news bulletin that happened tonight, and I will go through almost everyone. I am doing it for a job. You were working, but you're not working. The guy who's not working, who chooses that when Fentu is speaking, he will not listen but go and listen, or who chooses that when Kwaku Yeboah is speaking, he will not listen. You go and listen to somebody else who is just blabbing on, no research, no background, nothing. And let me address this cheat thing. I think people are, look, Arabic commentators shout and everybody thinks it's great. And we say, wow, he's so passionate. Or Spanish commentators. You know, the Latin American ones.
And the ones who cover their eyes, throw their head.
Like, look, there was one where even before what's the name of Pedri scored.
The goal had been called 30 seconds before
the guy said Golato.
Before the guy struck the ball.
Like 30 seconds before he hit the ball.
Well, that's before. What was even funnier was the one in which a goal was scored. And the commentator just closed his eyes, shout, go, for about 1 minute. When he opened his eyes, it had been disallowed. All we could get was the microphone being banked and he's walking up.
But you see, I'm just saying that, look, we focus too much on errors with sports journalists.
Is that not the norm with Ghanaians?
No, it's the norm, but I'm saying that it doesn't. So I am a sports journalist, I'm defending my stock as passionately as I can. I saw Kwaku Yeboah and what he brought to sports journalism. I saw how Kofi Asare-Brackun changed the nature of it. There are so many commentators now, I can't even make their names out. But I grew up in an era where when Kotoko went to play a game in Sierra Leone, you needed to wait on Monday before you had the result. So you read graphic sports. And then I saw an era where people like Kwaku Yeboah and the rest changed the nature of how we got football news by carrying mobile phones to matches. They revolutionized the game. I live in an era now where it's become so good that if I don't want to listen to what I consider noise, I don't have to. I take my phone, I go on Twitter, I follow everything. I'm saying that these are people who have actively enhanced the consumption of sports. And as there are more and more people, because I've traveled around and seen many people, I love when people say the sports journalists in Ghana are of bad quality. Not everybody in England is a Henry Winter.
I know.
Yes.
Or Martin Samuels for that.
Yes. And not everybody is a Mike Costello who would deliver you a 10-second commentary of an athletics 100-meter race and you are not there and you feel like you're on the track. Not everybody there is like that. In the same way, not everybody in Ghana is like a Philip, it's like you, it's like Carl, it's like Kwabena Yeboah, who has dedicated. And look at some of the things people even say, oh, Papa, we're watching with TV, so Papa. Yeah. But they listen to Martin Tyler and still like it. Yeah. Martin Tyler on Che. When we saw Patrick Snell on CNN and I was in JSS?
That Patrick Snell, Martin Tyler started in 1972.
So I'm just speaking about the different measures that seem to apply. And I'm just saying, look, all of them know this. I am one of the fiercest critics if they're doing anything wrong. But I am saying that too many times people are just...
You call them?
Now, Yakobo Nations Cup, they are sports journalists, they are heading.
So, hold on, he calls you?
Mike?
When you make mistakes?
Absolutely.
Good. That's the same pattern.
He's in your inbox, he's calling you, he's telling you this. Absolutely, he does.
But the question is, does your generation change along with the times and see it as fair critique?
Of course.
I think a lot of my generation do.
Sure.
They do, because, I mean, you grew up watching Carl, you grew up seeing Oti, you grew up seeing Kwaku Yeboah calls me. Sometime after games, he calls me to give a review of what has happened between another and I in commentary. And I'm always looking forward to it, because I grew up watching them in the industry and they were great. And as Michael said, I mean, he's seen the generation of journalists who have come, and I'm living in an era that I'm thinking that they are really good journalists. Really. When you look at somebody like Yaofusulabi Kawawa, the stories he covers, they are incredible. It matches up to anywhere in the world. I'm not talking about Ghana or Africa. Anywhere in the world, Yaofusulabi. When you see what Gary Al-Smith is doing, and when you hear Fentio break down an issue that you have read over and
with
over again, and it's that is 2x4 something. When you hear Fentio digest an issue, it is. And when you go to Kumasi, as Michael said, you've got people like Bismarck Ayala, you've got Atapoku.
Brilliant guys, bright.
They are brilliant guys everywhere. It has to come down now, and I'm not going to say there aren't many who are not doing, who are still not maybe at the very highest level. There are some who are listening to myself and I'm sometimes disappointed. That is my personal opinion. But there are some that I listen to and I'm so proud. I'm learning from them. It's got to now go down to the consumer to decide. What you consume is is who you are. What you constantly consume is who you are.
Of you.
Absolutely. You just said that we are football buyers and Fentio consumes a lot more of athletics. That is who he is. So if that consumer is always tuning into that reporter or that analyst or that journalist and comes back to tell us that he's a negative journalist, that consumer is a negative person, because at 7 there isn't only one sports show. At 8 there isn't only one. At 9, at 10, at 11, at 2 p.m. you've got the number of media houses broadcasting sports in a minute in this country are enormous. So you've got absolutely no excuse to keep tuning into that so-called bad journalist and come back to blame the problems of Ghanaian football on that bad journalist. It doesn't work. Because right at the same time that bad journalist is broadcasting, there is one Yaofusulabi, there's Julia Yeboah, there's Fentio Tariu, there's Daniel Crantain, there's Akosia broadcasting as well. If you want the quality content, and that is who you are, or that's what you want to find, you will find it. So what I'm saying, that there is a balance. There is a really good balance where the proper journalists, or those who are doing the very top job, are there. And Fentio and I speak almost all the time. We chat on social media, we review our works. I send him thumbs up on a lot of things he does. And you're living in an era where there's really healthy relationship between regional. We criticize our works. We do criticize it.
Peer review.
Peer review is it's.
You speak about peer review. Friend, just hold on a second. Yeah. I'll get to you. So do people like you, Willie Graham, those who actually do commentary now, do you, George Addo Jr., who else can I think of?
Nana Dakwa JC.
Very good. Yeah. Do you get together to critique one another, as it were?
In the last 3 years or so, my best friends in the media have been Nana Dakwa JC, George Addo Jr., Gary Al-Smith. That is largely because I'm doing the very things that they have also been doing.
Graham?
Graham as well. And Graham, when Kotoko played against Atofok in the President Cup, at halftime Graham called me. At halftime, when he was taking in water, are you watching? How is it going? I mean, we have our own discussion. I'm doing a Ghana Premier League match. And at halftime, when I want to take a breather, Graham has sent a message to encourage me or ask me to watch A or B. George comes to the stadium to do a game. We have a conversation of what to expect. What have you picked up? Did you watch the warm up? And I'm saying, yeah, I did. What did you pick up? There is that healthy relationship between this current crop of journalists who, I must say, who mean business. Who mean business, because we want to improve, we want to push each other, we want to criticize each other, we want to get the best out of each other. And we keep doing that. So as you ask, absolutely yes. George, Graham, we are always... I spoke to Fentio about commentary some time ago, we spoke about it. Daniel Crantain does commentary on radio for City Sports, and I'm in conversation with Daniel as well. Yaofusulabi covers a story, and I'm consuming it, I'm like, wow, bro, did you just do that? Keep it up. I enjoyed this. That is what we do. Akosia is doing social media.
Absolutely.
And now she's more than just the social media girl we know. She's a lot more than that.
But the point and the problem I tend to have, and Fentu is well aware of it, particularly because I have access to, let's say, City, Sports City TV and media people, it's something I find so key that in this house, if you don't get it right, you're off. Pronunciation of names.
Oh, sir.
And you wonder why adequate research is not being done to find the pronunciations of names. You are in City, you are quite particular about it.
Yeah.
But then, I still listen to City, and I do hear it. And I'm not talking about the other programs. The other programs, if I have a problem, I'm talking to Bernard Apple. No, I'm talking about sports.
Well, you know, I think it's easy for anybody to say that there's no excuse to mispronounce people's names. But there are instances where no matter how hard you try to pronounce a name correctly, you still get it wrong.
That's not your tongue. That's not your
My name is a very good example. It's right there. I've told people a countless number of times that my name is Fentu. Michael calls me Fentu, and I respond, but that's not how it is.
It's Fentu.
He calls me Fentu, but that's not. That's not
Fentu.
But okay, so why is Asamoah Gyan, as we call him, called Gyan?
No, Gyan because
of their tongue.
Sorry, quotation marks. Quotation marks, please. The idiots who are doing commentary didn't know. Go to BBC and find out whether they say Gyan or Jan. Find out.
Actually, they always don't get it.
So that's what I'm saying.
So the commentary on the Black Stars game, Michael.
Hold on. Listen carefully.
Jan.
Yes. I'm talking about
not always.
Not always about. Listen. ITV, BBC. Take a look at the match. The match between Ghana and England.
You're not suggesting they got every single.
No, I'm not saying they get it wrong.
Absolutely.
But I know from BBC that when they have a name and a word, they can't.
They go through it. And yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
They call.
Yeah.
I've been called a few times to go to the office at Laboni to go and record how Ghanaian names are pronounced.
After all those efforts,
that's correct.
After all those efforts, in the end, sometimes they slip.
It takes a while.
So I think what Carl is saying is that we must aspire to a certain standard.
Absolutely.
And
there has to be a conscious effort, and I think that conscious effort is very necessary. And it's not just in the pronunciation of names; it's in everything. You write an article, you do radio broadcast, TV, and every single thing that you do, research is key. And I think that pronunciation of names dovetails into research. And I think, personally, and Michael spoke brilliantly, and so did Philip. But I think that is probably where I can sort of understand where Carl is coming from in terms of where some of our colleagues have let us down, or perhaps even themselves. You know, there's a way, and there have been, if you listen to Chi commentary, there's been a way a lot of Chi commentators have brilliantly described the game. Some of them have revolutionized the way Chi commentary is done. But you can't run away from the fact that you've also listened to a commentator who has mentioned Tule Muntari like 5 times, 10 times in 3 minutes. He's not saying anything. He just Tule Muntari for 5 minutes non-stop. I mean, when you hear that, obviously, for 5 minutes, Muntari hasn't had the ball for 5 minutes. So why have you mentioned Muntari's name for 5 minutes?
Some of them, they are using radio commentary for TV and TV commentary for radio.
And even radio, that,
you describe it.
Yes.
A picture.
And even that,
I've heard English commentators, like local commentators who are doing it in English. Muntari, or Nieje, onto the right, onto the left.
That's TV. Because the person...
No, but this is on radio.
He's talking about radio.
When I expect the person to say, J picks up the ball, plays it out onto the right.
A picture.
Yes.
In the center circle.
Switch it across ball, place it with the outside of the right foot.
Away from him.
No, but he's making the point. And you see, so there is that. And I think that can be better. All right? Whether it's the Chi commentators or it's English commentators, one thing is important. You're describing a game. And that has to happen. I've listened to a lot of commentators who basically do nothing but shout names. Yes, human beings play the football, but they're doing something on the pitch. That action has to be described. It is what it is in Chi, it's what it is in English, it's what it is in Spanish. It's fundamental. Describing the action is fundamental. What can change is how you choose to do it. So in Chi, you might have to be a bit more exaggerated in order to paint the accurate picture, unlike in English. In Spanish, it's the same thing. In Arabic, even more. But what is fundamental, what you cannot miss, is describing the action. And you see, one thing that I can't tolerate, that I find very unprofessional, is that commentators, and I've listened to quite a lot of them, make it a habit to completely ignore what is objective criticism of a player's action and then resort to insult. We have a very famous video clip of a Chi commentator describing a Ghanaian player when he missed a penalty from the 2021, in fact the 2019 and the 23 AFCON.
In Egypt.
That competition was in Egypt. The player missed a penalty.
That's why I raised it up when he was on.
No, he missed a penalty, and you had the commentary. We can't say it here.
It came with insults. No, it wasn't Chi.
It was in Chi.
Now we can lose comfortably. Before then,
we are not here. Excuse me.
No. I want to get a person. Is this some 2x4 local station? Is the commentator still on air?
Hold on. I'm not going to allow you to respond to it.
Is the commentator still on air?
But
is the commentator still on air?
But there is this part of it. Commentary in itself is a different space, and as you know, as Michael would know, not everybody might want to do it, but not everybody
is good at it.
Is good at it or can do it. And before you do commentary, it's different from watching the game and after the game thinking you know the sport. You're calling the action as it happens, and you need to be trained for that. The big ask is, are people trained for that, or because they can speak fluently?
This brings me back to a major problem, Carl.
Are people trained for it, or because they speak fluently and fast?
That is the point I've been saying, that because
we are throwing people out into the park and expecting them to make their way out. So
are we throwing people out into the park, or is it that people...
How did this start, Carl? In your era, there was only one place you could come to. You could come to GBC.
Absolutely.
You know, when I left journalism school in '99, it was an absolute privilege to get internship place at Joy or Radio Gold. They were among the few there, and then there was Choice FM. These days,
everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Now, I'm saying, I started appearing on TV because you took me to Metro TV. I didn't have to come through here. I've built a whole career off TV3. There are people in your generation who would not understand what that means. I'm saying that the field became wider. There were need for commentators. When you go to the Kumasi Stadium, that commentary box is jam-packed. Down there, with guys who have come from across the country, and it's a beautiful thing. Yeah. Whether from Dunkwa, whether from Obuasi, they've come to run commentary for their local community.
Yeah.
And that's the strength that commentary, journalism, radio, the choices have given us.
And multiplicity, that's what it brings.
And then there are those who are up there, GBC, they're above one, and then Max and the rest, they are up there with their boots, properly caged, nice. All I'm saying is that there was a boom in radio stations, and there was a demand for talent. This demand came from whether JHS, SHS, and the rest, without training, radio stations needed their time to be filled. If there's anybody we need to ask questions of, it is media owners and managers. How did they let this slip? who allows you to go on radio when you're not trained? Would I allow you to read news on my platform if I don't think you? It is the most scrutinized process. When I was head of sports, would I just throw you in to say go and do sports station? No. But there was a need. I mean, half of these radio stations are not even paying their staff. So who are you now to go and demand that you to go and do training?
So if somebody's not paying you, you're still working for the person?
Because people have ambition and drive.
Yeah.
This is not the first time you would have noticed this.
I know.
There are people who started with newspapers in this country who were not being paid, who were still writing. It's a passion, it's drive, it's energy.
Yeah.
I know people who work for...
You know what he's talking about?
You understand?
He's talking about himself.
No. I've always been lucky. I've always been... No, I've always been lucky. I'm very well paid.
Has he really?
No, yes. No,
At the
honestly.
beginning?
No, yes. I've always been... Look, I got very lucky. I always tell people that I got very lucky. When I was in journalism, I was earning money for writing.
Man, I think you were that good.
And I'm written for Chronicle and the rest. And I always thought I deserved more. That's how you must. That's how you.
Deserving more.
But you see, I think sometimes we also make the mistake, and people who are watching, please, sports journalism is not limited to commentary.
Yeah, absolutely
it's not limited to radio commentary.
Absolutely not.
I think people make that mistake a lot. So for instance, you look, one of my favorite sports journalists is Victor Atru. This boy was in Takrady, and he sent me an article via Facebook, and I looked at the article, and I thought, who is this? Who is this? Like, who is this who produces this kind of quality? And this was a boy on radio who was struggling to gain the attention of people in the space. If this society was better and valued writers more, that boy would have...
You'd have been something else.
You understand?
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. We are reducing journalism to people who talk. It is the same thing with general journalism.
No. I think we've got to be fair and truthful here. With the proliferation of the radio station that you're talking about. There is, and if you take a look at the institution you belong to, SWAN, now you probably have more sports broadcasters than you have sports writers.
I understand.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
I understand. But I'm saying that those of us who understand should not make the mistake of limiting sport. Because look,
No, it's not.
because look, you know what we are doing now is that we are even then debasing the essence of writing to the practice of journalism. To be a good broadcaster, you must be a good writer.
That is the problem I have. Not only writing, but researching. And now
But if you don't research, you don't write
all
well.
along.
Yes.
Hold on. All along, I've been playing the devil's advocate.
Yeah.
But when you come to that aspect,
If you don't research, you don't write well.
I have a problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's why when I give example for pronunciation of names, look here.
Oh, when you classroom idea now count. We are so excited. This is the thing you tell your students in the school. That way you must. If I come and do one of the guest lectures, I'll tell them.
But you've already done.
Yes, and I love it. I will tell them for you. I'll say that please, you must research, and you must research. It's very important to research.
Yeah.
It's very important to research names. You know, one of the things that strikes me every time I cover a major tournament is how when you get into the waiting area before.
All right, you know one thing.
match.
You know one thing. I'm sorry to interrupt you here. To be brutally frank with you, I've been caught up in this whole business of trying to get you guys to provoke you to a reaction. I've left out a coach here. God damn it.
They're dropping a lot of keys. I'm like, okay.
No, the keys you can go and find somewhere. Say something.
I'm currently just trying to find my way.
No, but the
around
truth of-
commentary, 'cause, you remember I had a conversation with you last week.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're talking about the women's game, and I'm like, I've been watching the team for some time now, and it gets to a point where I feel everything I have to say about the team, I've exhausted that. Because when you keep watching the same team over and over again, they churn out the same performance. It's now not about the research you've done, because probably in the first game you have a whole notepad full of research and you're dropping some here. In the second game, you come out. The third match,
You've dropped all the apple.
then now you've dropped everything. As Tamimu will tell me, that short 300 words I'm writing doesn't mean anything, because in his time he was writing a whole middle spread. I'm like, okay, I'll get there someday, but not now. So when it gets to a certain time, that I feel like every other thing I should know, I've said it, and there's nothing new, and I'm still going to watch that same team again. Maybe you would be you've listened to me 3-4 times, and it's like, okay, this girl, we are not hearing anything new from her. And that's not because I'm not researching more about the team. That's because at this point, really, there's nothing again. Because even the players who are playing have given up. The coach has given up.
That wouldn't be a problem for you, Akosia, not to cut her, but if the viewer saw the game and has seen the game in the last 7 times of the same team, and in all honesty, your assessment of the team in the last 7 weeks that you've seen them is still the same, the viewer is honest enough to understand that that is the state of the team. They are just that good or that bad, and you've kept saying it. I remember when Thomas Tuchel took over Chelsea. Anytime I watch Chelsea play in that new 3-back system, every single day on radio I said that it was about the most balanced football team I had seen in years. And I said it almost every weekend. Every weekend they went out to get results and went on to win the Champions League. Everybody who was listening to me knew that I had been consistent with that, and the team was consistent.
What happened yesterday?
So what happened yesterday is a different matter.
See,
so the viewer watching is honest as well.
I felt that was a problem. How come I talked to you, and I talked to Ore Kwampofa about it as well. I was like, okay, I feel like with what I'm doing, maybe I'm not giving the viewers or those listening the right things. So what more can I do at this point? What more can I say at this point? But I also feel like sometimes we are a bit too hard on the journalists who use our languages. We feel like just because somebody is using doing a commentary in Tree or commentating in Tree is equal to the person is not knowledgeable enough about the game, and so we tend to probably describe them as Kumasi commentators, no, but we forget the quality that they also have. Can talk about my boss, Sadiq Adams, an amazing commentator, an amazing sports journalist.
Nobody can downplay Sadiq because of the language he speaks.
There's nothing you can say about the fact that
terrible English commentary in radio.
You
can't you even see the tweets he writes?
I mean,
no.
I'm very biased towards
I don't even think anybody has ever tried.
You're clearly biased towards Sadiq, so I'll leave it there.
Oh, because Sadiq is.
But we're also talking about people who are using the local.
Sadiq there. As for Sadiq there.
You're biased towards Sadiq.
You say?
You're biased towards.
I'm biased towards.
I think the bias is justified.
I'm biased towards 2 people. I'm very biased towards Sadiq and Gary.
Okay, you're biased and you because you wanted to know what the. How do you say it's pronounced again?
Fentu.
Fentu.
Oh, so
Fentu.
Carl, look, Carl.
It literally means no name.
Okay, so Fentu.
Carl, I have a lot of biases.
No name tag.
But my biggest bias, I don't lie, I don't hide it, is towards Gary. And these are 2 boys, 2 people that I speak to literally like every day. He will. Sometimes I avoid his calls because when he calls, he takes a very long time. Thanks.
I said you talk.
Too much.
Okay. I mean,
I have been quiet today.
Listen,
I have been quiet
the 3
today.
of you have taken away whatever Akosia wanted to say. I wanted to hear.
Please do.
Basically, all
You enjoy hearing Akosia.
all I was trying to say is
Thank you, darling.
With those who consume the commentary that we do, maybe it's not perfect at this point. Probably we do good 90%, 95%, and there are some others, as Fentu was saying, would mention a name of a player maybe 5 times or 10 times in a space of 2 minutes, and in that space the ball had gone from one player to the other, and probably we've had 11 passes, and the person is still mentioning the same names. Yes, there are those who are there, and then there are those who are churning out good things. And so, as Sijo said, if you think that what you are consuming is not good enough for you, tune off. Tune into those who are doing good. There was a time where we would still want to watch sports highlights, and after watching it, if Oteja is still on sports station, maybe there are some who would still want to listen to Oteja because new school, blah blah blah. After we've had our favorite Oluwa and all, I mean, it's not as if you can battle. It's not as if you can battle the Kwabna on Monday evening. We all know that, so we would still come there. But at the end of the day, people shouldn't be too hard on those who are who they think that, in their opinion, are not doing good. People always text me, Akusi, are you allowed? Akusi, are you this? Akusi, are you that? They are telling me all these different stuff. But then I come back to you, say, Carl, and I'm talking to you about presentation. I'm talking to you about this, and I know the number of times you correct me and say it's Richard Ofori. And anytime I'm about to mention that name, I remember you. Then I pause, I'm like, Richard Ofori, and I don't say Richard Ofori. Those are constructive criticism that I can take. But for those who are commenting on why my makeup looks a certain way, people just criticize everything. Everything.
They're used to it.
Hair, yes, from your hair to everything. And you can't take all those comments from people and think that just because they say ABC, just because you're passionate about what you're doing and you're in an air condition and you're sweating, it means that you're not doing the right thing. But so far as the person is actually giving some very good commentary, why not listen? I would listen to Sadiq Adams every day doing his commentary in Tree. I would listen to Don Sama in Kumasi do his commentary in Tree. If that is what it comes down to, I would, when George Latte was at GBC, I would listen to his, I mean, who was battling him in English commentary at the time? We would listen to him, who learn from him and all. That's something that we've all been doing. But then it never comes down to bad commentary or bad sports journalism being equal to bringing down the passion that football is in the country. Because if somebody today is saying that there's a player in Azerbaijan who has scored 100 goals in 50 games, that player is not saying that whoever is scouting for the GFA or whoever is scouting for the national team should go and bring that player into the national team. After we qualified for the playoffs, I can mention over 100 names that have come up about players who play in Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan, Jordan, wherever they are playing, the goals they are scoring, the fact that they've been named player of the month, they were named in the Turkish whatever League 7 team of the year, all that. So far as people are saying that, sports journalists are saying that, does not mean that you have to go and bring them and then say that, well, you people mentioned those names of those players on all your radio stations and we're hammering on their names, making stories about them here and there, so it's equal to we have to go and bring them in. And so the kind of players we assembled is the fault of the sports journalists. And even quite recently, when they were delaying on bringing out the squad, they're like, okay, it's because of social media commentaries that will be coming. The players are not, we don't want the players to feel some type of way. And these were the same players who were on social media posting the Ghana flag to tell us that they are coming to play for Ghana. So whose problem, who was causing that problem? We didn't get that, how that was the fault of the sports journalists. Because these players ended up on their TikTok, Instagram, posting that Ghana, here we come. And we didn't even know Majid Waris was in one of the flights with another player, and Majid Waris has been named into the team because he also posted that, and everybody was like, yeah. So it's not our fault that we talk about the things that we talk. I mean, as journalists, we need to do our research. We need to bring the issues to bear. We need to let people know what is going on. But whatever it comes down to, the administrators, they are responsible to do whatever they have to do. Just because maybe tomorrow Fento will be talking about, I know he's very passionate about Walcott and a number of the players, just because he'll be talking about it on Panorama does not mean that all of a sudden Mr. Kwaku and his people should go up there and bring the player to play for us if they think he's not good enough. He wouldn't hold them to ransom. He wouldn't put anything on their arms that you need to go and bring it. Even just because Callum Hudson-Odoi was at the presidency, it doesn't mean that by force he has to come and play, or we should let him play. All those things, how can that be the fault of the sports journalists? Yes, we have our own problems. Sometimes somebody is doing commentary with like 5 different phones saying all the things that they are saying. Yes, we have all those things. But those things are never the problem, the reasons why Ghana football is where it is. I mean, I've been around you for some time now. You talk about how it was, that throwback video of yours when you were very critical on a collab that they did probably in 80-something or 90-something.
You don't know Kai.
No, you remember that video? I played it once on match day. He was very, very critical. You were on the set. Was it the legend Ken? They were very critical of the call-up.
They were
mentioning
fiery.
the players and saying who deserved to be there, who didn't deserve to be there.
It's normal discourse.
Yes, it's normal discourse.
Normal discourse, but not the insulting aspect of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nobody would say today that it's okay for anyone to insult anybody at all, even if it's your colleague. No, it's not right. Or to insult, say, a player who's been called. Last year, was it last year or last 2 years, when they invited the player who played for, was it Worcester or Colchester?
Colchester.
When they
His name is
invited
Kwame
that
Poku.
player, Kwame Poku, and when people had questions, the questions people were asking were not insulting questions. People were asking, why do you think that a player who plays in that division deserves to be in the Black Stars? Are we not devaluing the Black Stars at this point? And you say, okay, we want to tie him down because we think he's a good player. Why don't you bring him to Under-20 World Cup for us to see how he performs, so that when you mention his name in the World Cup, if
he's under 20 and then
he was under 20. I'm only saying they should bring him to the under 23 if you qualify for the Olympics, so that we see how he performs before you bring him to our most valued asset, which is the Black Stars. When people have these questions about the player, they're not insulting the player. When they say he plays in a carpenter league, they are not insulting the player, because I mean, division what? Who are the kind of players playing there? Last season or so, when Tottenham had a game against one of these teams, and they played probably on a community park, they had to even number the houses so that when the ball goes there, they know which house they go to bring. If you play for such a team, we saw the players who were playing there. These were not professional players. These were men who had their day jobs and then come back to play. So if they are playing for such a team, and they invite you to the national team, and we have questions like, how is such a player qualifying to play for our most valued asset? What does he bring on board? What has he done? What's his strike history? How many goals has he scored? How many interceptions have he? If he's playing for this position, what are his strengths? What are his weaknesses? Those are valid questions that we can ask, and they are not insulting. People ask a lot of questions about Wallacott and his legs and how he can't save with his legs and all those questions. And then in the World Cup playoff, everyone started applauding that. At least it means that Richard Kensing's 15 goalkeepers, he's done something good with them.
Time is up.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
You thought it would be forever and ever. There you are. That's what happens. Folks.
Oh, you're having a good time.
That's exactly the point. Folks, I can't guarantee...
We have to go home now.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, but if I go down...
I can't guarantee whether I'll get this set again. But one thing I can promise you is this. This program is continuing. And at some time later on, I will still get the likes of... I'll get the likes of Philip, Akusia, and Michael in-house. Because whether they like it or not, people like Michael in particular owe me one. And so I'll play my pound of flesh. But folks, thanks for coming on the program this evening.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
I've actually enjoyed playing the devil's advocate here.
Thanks for having us.
And getting you to come out, defend and fight the way it is, particularly your own colleagues. But admittedly, some of us have made mistakes in the past. Some of us will continue to make mistakes in the future, whether we like it or not. We're all human beings. The only person who does not make a mistake is God. Right? Good. So,
you should create one for athletics.
This one?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I told you at the beginning. Very unfortunate.
He will do something. He will do something for you. Don't worry. Okay.
No. But Michael.
One-on-one.
Yeah.
Michael.
21-on-1.
Michael, you are aware that the World Championships and Commonwealth Games will be shown here. I'll get some of these cards. I only want athletics people.
But you won't get this guy.
Well done.
You know, you're experiencing the best moment in Ghana's athletics now.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, in terms of 9.90.
That's right.
6
In all the times you covered athletics, you never see the Ghanaian run that far.
Why doesn't it excite?
Because it's not led to medals.
Oh.
That's the problem.
We've not achieved.
That's what
you see. But when was that?
Look, I don't know whether
Hey, Michael, this
I don't know whether it's
Hold on. Are you aware?
I remember famously before Atlanta '96, there was this guy who ran. I forgot it. Was it Leo Myers Mills? So every time before major events, these times keep
10.01.
Yes,
then it came to
yes.
9.99.
There's always a record run, and then it gets to the competition, and it's such a damn squib.
The problem is that when some of them look at,
okay.
excuse me, when some of them look at quotation mark the stars,
You understand? This is he knows. I go into his inbox every day where he's ranting. I go to him and say,
Hold on.
Michael is always.
wait, where will this one?
The 25th?
No, his. Look, I don't want trouble.
He has opinions that he can't air publicly, obviously.
But where does he go to?
No, he always attacks me in my inbox on WhatsApp or on Twitter.
I'm a big fan of Atletico.
Because
but
we had a little banter across board on another platform somewhere else.
That's right.
Yeah.
I saw it that day.
Good. The 2.0?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
The problem I have is that I've gone back again and I've looked at 2.0 meters per second. And even though that's the borderline, I wonder why the IAAF even allows it. Because initially they used to say anything from 2.0 above is a problem. Now they are saying 2.0 is allowed.
Wind assistance.
Wind assistance. Tailwind. That is
the legal tailwind is 2.0.
2.0.
Anything above that is illegal.
Yeah, but
anything that and below is legal.
At first, anything below that was acceptable.
Yeah.
But now,
they keep changing the rules.
Look, me, I say that.
Okay.
If they do, I like Azamati. I like the boys. Please go there. Show them something.
Have we done enough to?
Folks, I've been talking about
There's that as well. But done enough.
You must deliver. And that's why I say when you go for world championships, you go for Olympic Games, if it's the first time you're going or the second time you're going, I should see a PB there, and more importantly, you get into at least semi-finals or finals. They
just recently broke the relays record.
Yeah.
That is phenomenal. Look at all the great sprinters you had in your generation. None of these boys are now breaking those records.
That we had in my generation.
Yes. These guys are faster than them.
Hold on. Particularly when they were going for...
it's normal.
Hold on. You are faster, but the others are also faster. But at least in the 70s, I know that when I was growing up, Alice Anu was winning medals at Commonwealth Games. Nobody is winning medals at Commonwealth Games. So that is the point. If Alice Anu is transposed from that era to this era, and having all the diets and all the nutrition and all the medical whatnot support, she probably will be breaking many of these records that we are cherishing. But that's for another day. Thank you, thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you.
Philip, it's your children. The man with the Benz. Akosi J, thanks for coming. And none other than Michael Otieje. God bless you. Folks, we've had quite an interesting time on this particular program. The good thing though is that we're continuing, so next week we'll come up with something for you. Not too sure what my producer and my directors will come up with. But thanks also goes out to the chaps you don't see, my producer, director, cameraman, soundman, lightingman, who do an absolutely fabulous job, switcher, editor, and all those people, graphics, floor manager. More importantly, thanks to you for watching. Without you, this program would be zilch. God willing, we'll be back same time next week. Until then, have a fabulous weekend. Good night.